Welcome to Muvahood Unfiltered, straight shots, no chasers. I'm Ivy, and I have my niece Brittany here with me today.
Hi.
I don't think I would have ever thought I would be interviewing her about motherhood, and we're gonna get into that, okay? So first, before we start, we're gonna toast, and I like to have my guests choose what we're gonna toast to. So, what are we toasting to?
I think before I was a mom, it would be like prosperity and that type of thing. But right now, it's just making it to the next day.
Hey, one day to the next.
Yeah,
that's been my motto.
Now I still want to prosper, and all of that. But like I said, with this, it's just a different beast.
I think I told you the first probably the first 6 months to a year is the toughest, and yeah, that's where you are. So cheers to that.
Cheers.
So first, before we get into your journey, we're going to do a little this or that, right? And it's going to be pertaining to her daughter and what you would choose or introduce to her first. All right. So headbands or bows?
Both.
Florals or polka dots?
Polka dots, but I tend to kind of lean towards florals because her middle name is Boone.
Oh,
so I do that a lot. But yeah, polka dots, because yeah.
All right, ballet or karate?
Whatever she chooses.
Okay, but if you had to say, okay, let's try something first.
I guess we'd start with ballet because that seems like it would make the most sense for a girl. But I kind of don't want to put her in a box either.
Okay, apple juice or grape juice?
Apple juice. We apple juice all day long in this house.
Jazz or R&B?
Both, because I love some jazz. Like I want to expand her musical palette, so I don't want it to just be, basic. So I want to introduce her to something that she wouldn't usually be introduced to. Okay. So I guess I say jazz, because R&B is just gonna happen,
right?
Regardless,
naturally, no matter who she's with, probably. Yeah. Gracie's Corner or Miss Rachel?
Gracie.
What? I love Gracie's Corner.
Miss Rachel just a little too bland. Like, she gonna teach us some stuff, but she just a little bland.
And Ruby likes to dance. She bounced their head. All right, so are we going frilly or sporty?
Sporty. I'm a sporty girl myself, all day long. And maybe that's why everywhere we go, people think she a boy. But more so, I just don't like frou-frou stuff. Like, lately I've been trying to, dibble and dabble a little bit in more colors and all of that. But yeah, we're going sporty all the way. Sneakers, all that.
Okay, we're doing vegan or pescatarian?
Probably pescatarian, because I feel like vegan eating is tough. Like, it's hard to navigate. Mm-hmm. When you go out, things, there are not always a lot of vegan options. And she likes salmon, so. Okay.
Well, if you were in LA, that would be very different.
Definitely.
Play dates or sleepovers?
We're gonna do play dates because I think I'm gonna kind of reel it in on the sleepover thing just based on my own childhood. Yep, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, things are different these days.
Okay, so are you doing a night out with your friends or a night home cuddling with Ruby?
I love a good night out with my friends. I love a good drink and all that. But, sometimes I don't even feel like doing that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes maybe my friends may invite me out and then I'm like, you know what? I don't even feel like calling a babysitter. Like, I don't even feel like doing any of that. We just go chill tonight.
It's so much. For me, it's the process of getting out.
It is.
Especially when you have a kid, you got to store
after you
milk.
Dressed, then you got to get them together and then take them wherever they're going. Mm-hmm. Or, even if the dad is in the home, it's just, you still have to prepare your kid.
Yep.
For you leaving, for you removing yourself for the night. So sometimes I just stay home. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. Like I said, I can't believe that I'm even sitting here talking to you about motherhood because we all thought you were going to be the rich auntie forever. The rich auntie that just picks up the kids, have fun with the kids, and be like, peace out. Go back to your mama. I'll see y'all later. How did we get here?
It's crazy. I feel like, I'd always thought about having children eventually, or a child eventually. But it's my brothers had children young, and they had children before me. I'm the oldest sibling, but I had my child last, so I was the last to get my mom a grandchild. But I think because I became an aunt at like 20, I became a godmom at like 16 because I had a friend, had a teen pregnancy, whatever, and I had dedicated so much time to taking care of other people's children. It didn't really occur to me, like, I kind of was in that phase where I'm like, oh no, I'm not getting pregnant right now. Where you trying to avoid it. But then on down the line, I'm getting older. I'm 36 now, and at the time when I had Ruby, I was 35. But I think the older you get, you just start to think about those things more and think about pros and cons, like the fact that you may not be able to have children past a certain age. So I think that kind of did it for me. Initially, like, I've had issues with pregnancy before I was able to have Ruby, as you know. But I think once I was finally able to make it past a certain point in a pregnancy, I was like, okay, let me get my mind right. I'm about to have a kid, whatever. And so the other times where I've had those situations where they didn't work out, I look at it like that maybe they weren't meant to be at the time. Of course, traumatic, but
very.
I had kind of gotten to the point right before I was pregnant with Ruby where I had decided not to even have children anymore, just because of the circumstances and experiences that I have gone through surrounding pregnancy. So I kind of scratched it off the list of things. I was cool. I'm like, I'll just continue to be the auntie or the supporter. And I ended up pregnant again. I mean, you don't end up pregnant, but
yeah.
And I just decided, okay, let's just do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so you mentioned, what you went through with prior to Ruby. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like,
yeah, I'm open to talk about that. Like, so we'll say this had to be about 2019. I experienced a miscarriage, and it wasn't just a normal miscarriage. It was kind of a traumatic experience. Like I said before, I feel like every experience I had before Ruby was traumatic. That particular one, I wasn't very far along. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to have the baby. Things of that sort. I was kind of just in limbo, and I decided, to go to the ER one day because I found out I was pregnant like maybe a few days before that. Then I started spotting and, just experiencing some things that raised like some concerns. So I went to the ER. They told me my pregnancy was still viable. I was only about 6 weeks pregnant, Okay. So they were like, it's still viable. Everything's okay. I went home. I came back because I was cramping, like just feeling like I was miscarrying, but I kept getting it's still viable. And I think that kind of goes back to them not listening to Black women about their bodies. And I'm telling them like something is wrong. Like I can tell something is wrong. And they're like, oh, they check and they're like, oh, there's a hematoma. Like, your placenta is not attached, whatever. So I'm like, okay, so what do we do from here? And they're still like, it's still viable. Like this probably lasted about 10 days.
That's
total.
Crazy.
So I went to the ER 3 times in 10 days. And
I remember that.
So it was around Christmas. I couldn't leave out the house because I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
I just lay down all day, and like my nieces and nephews were coming upstairs like, what's wrong? Like asking me, so I just was, it just wasn't the best. I go to a doctor's appointment. And this is funny because this is like New Year's Eve. And you know how I am about like signs, and I don't know. Like, so I just kind of thought that it was significant that it was New Year's Eve, just like
newness,
newness
and
year. Newness. So I kind of equate that to that. But anyway, I was at the doctor's appointment, and I told her the night before I think it had passed. My doctor checked, and there was just like, I don't know, she was checking, it was just so much blood, and then she sent me back to the ER.
Oh my God.
And when they checked, they did, decide that I had a miscarriage. And I went home after that, took a spiritual bath, and just, we just packed it up and got ready for the next day and kept it moving, like I've always done. I just kept it moving after that. So, that was traumatic because it lasted so long, and I kept having to revisit that like over and over before I finally got to the end of it.
Right.
So then a couple years after that, about 2021, I found out I was pregnant again. And this time I had made it further than I had made it before. Mm-hmm. So I made it to about 12 weeks. And then after some testing, I got the news that there was a condition that my baby was diagnosed with. It's basically where the cranium doesn't form completely. Mm-hmm. And the doctors told me if I were to continue with the process of pregnancy or continue with the pregnancy, that I could possibly, once the baby's born, that it will possibly only live for like 3 days, or have severe deformity, like where the head is like small or the brain could be on the outside of the head, like it was, that type of thing. So she basically told me my options and that she would suggest or recommend me terminating the pregnancy.
Right.
And that was very hurtful. At that time, I still wasn't absolutely sure about being a parent, but I had made up my mind, that I'm going through with this process. And by the time I had to have the procedure, I was 14 weeks already. So that was, they had to put me to sleep, and I woke up and there was no baby, and I just had to return to life again. Honestly, that week I had just opened a new business or started a new business. Wow. So it was like a high and a low in the same week. At the beginning of the week, we had our grand opening for our event space. Mm-hmm. And I really hadn't told anybody I was pregnant or anything, so just enjoying and reveling in that moment. And then finding out on a Tuesday, because that was a Sunday, on a Tuesday that I had to terminate this pregnancy and then do that by Friday. Mm-hmm. So, it was rough.
So now, that was hard for me to watch you go through, especially because I was so far away. And I just remember keep calling and checking in, and you going and coming back. And just like, what? She's been in the hospital. Everybody was going up there with you. I think my mom even, and everybody was so worried. But that's a whole nother subject for another day, just how our voices are not heard in healthcare, and our needs are ignored. You mentioned in bit space, so I want you to kind of tell me a little bit about like just how much present time now, how much your life has changed since having Ruby. She's now 9 months, right? Before her, you had 3 businesses going, and how much of that has changed for you at this point?
So in the beginning, like being pregnant and even after birth, I struggled a lot with feeling like I wasn't doing anything, feeling like a bum, basically, because I was so used to going, figuring out what my next move is going to be, figuring out how to make the next dollar, basically, right. And exploring like my options as far as entrepreneurship. And I feel like ultimately God was just telling me like, relax, like this is what you're supposed to be doing right now. Right. You're pregnant. It is what it is. You're already pregnant. You're about to have a beautiful baby girl. Let there be that. And it was hard for me at first, but then I kind of just leaned into it because it wasn't going nowhere. Now you really kind of lose your sense of self. Even throughout pregnancy, because there's so many changes happening to your body, your mind, your emotions, like everything. So you really are just trying to figure out who you are during that time, and of course after you have a baby, like just the amount of changes, and just the things that, like just the transition is it's just different. So it's like you just trying to figure out, like, not to mention how much brain fog you have.
Oh my god!
Like during pregnancy, like
I couldn't remember nothing.
I usually keep a notebook, write down things, like, my ideas. Like I always have plenty of ideas, like surrounding business and creativity, and just I'm a creative, and it was not flowing. Period. While I was pregnant, like I couldn't come up with anything because I also know in my mind I got to get my stuff together. I'm about to have a kid. I want to make sure she don't struggle. Like I just want to make sure she's secure and everything. Right. But it was like nothing was flowing to me. So I just decided to sit back and enjoy the ride. Like focus on my pregnancy, focus on motherhood. And I'm grateful because a lot of women don't even get a chance to stay home with their kid or to kind of like put off going to daycare for a little while. And so I'm grateful for that because now I've been able to fully like live in motherhood. Right. And like I said, I appreciate it.
So you had the 3 businesses. So now, like, what does that look like? You had
so the event space,
right?
Unfortunately, the owners decided to sell because we were leasing that space. So we just kind of left that where it was. I had a partner, and then the clothing brand. So we're thinking about doing that again, and that's called Saint Mantra. Anybody looking, you can take a look at our Instagram page. But the other thing, I've been an esthetician for almost 9 years, and that's something that's kind of like my 9 to 5 of things. It was something that I started. I wasn't necessarily passionate about the beauty industry necessarily, but I was working a dead-end job when I decided to do that, or a job that was just stressful to me, honestly. And I just decided to go ahead and go to aesthetic school and make that happen. So it's sustained me throughout this time. Even when I was pregnant, I kept working, doing that. And then I took a long break. I came back probably when she was about, I don't know, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
I started taking my regular clients, but I wasn't taking new clients because I just kind of like downsized the business. And like I said, I just took my regulars, and now I'm ready to go back to work. She's 9 months, and I don't know. I'm just ready to get back out here. I'm gonna start with the aesthetics thing again, and then I'm really just giving it a go with the vlogging and like sharing my experience with Ruby, and things like that. Like I really enjoy doing that, although sometimes
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it makes me feel lame sometimes because I'm just not that. Like I'm an introvert and I'm kind of private. So me deciding to share and then having to prop up a camera and record like what we doing and basically a reenactment and stuff like that. Like I just sometimes can't get with it. But everybody's been telling me to keep going. Like everybody I had a conversation with, they're like, keep going. Like people like to see it. Like so I'm working on that. But I would like to do that full time.
Yeah, it's nice to get the encouragement too, because sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves and so critical, and other people are not even
thinking what we're thinking. Yeah. Like I'm sitting up here thinking people like, she posts that baby too much.
Yeah, they're like, she's
like,
so beautiful.
Where is she? Yeah, can you post her everywhere I go? If I go to a bar, I'll see people and they're like, where's Ruby? I'm like, do you think she's gonna be at the bar with me? I'm having a drink.
I'm a whole person.
Hi. Yeah, I don't exist anymore to people. Like I don't exist.
See, that's what happens when you have a really cute baby. Unfortunately. So, overall, we know motherhood, just brings so many sacrifices, right? It was from, like you said, you lose a sense of self when you become pregnant, even after, I remember feeling like I don't even know how to dress anymore. I don't know what to wear. You
don't like your body.
No.
To be honest,
no.
After you have a baby, your body changes so much. It's not that old body. Even if you weren't in the best of shape, it's just still different.
Very.
It's different. And so that's something that I struggle with too. Like, I don't want to put clothes on because I don't like what my body looks like. Yeah, sure, people probably like, oh, you look good to have just had a baby. But it's still a difference for me. When I look in the mirror,
right,
or when I'm naked in the mirror, I'm like, oh my God. But, you know, other people are like, it's not even bad. But breastfeeding, like, first of all, has made me disappear.
Yes.
Like, I've lost so much weight.
Yes.
And it's a good thing in the beginning, but when you just keep
it's
losing
like, okay,
weight, it's like, all right,
slow down.
let me keep a little bit of something. Like, damn. Booty flat as hell.
I remember my jeans sagging in the butt. And anybody that knows me knows I have
a nice size
something
booty
back there. But I remember my son's father grabbing the back of my pants, like, what is going on here? And I was just like, your son is taking it all, baby.
Yeah, they say that's where the fat comes from for breastfeeding.
But it comes back. Look, clearly it comes back. I am proof that it comes back.
Like, I like that my back kind of got unbigged a little bit, but
my back is big.
Right but now. Like, yeah, I don't really have anything right now. I got some boobs because she's not here, so they're full, and when she comes home, they're gonna deflate.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm just kind of self-conscious right now. But nobody sees why. Like, and that's the thing about it too. People are always like, oh, you look fine.
That is, you know, that's your lived experience, and nobody can tell you how to feel. It's about feeling good from the inside, you know, yourself, you know. So, hey, let's wrap this up. So, if you had to give another woman advice that was maybe an entrepreneur before having a baby, or that been through, you know, several miscarriages, like, what would be some advice that you would give a woman in this with a new baby, like coming into this motherhood journey?
Okay, so for one, like, if it's for a woman who has been through miscarriages, or it has been trying and hasn't really been too lucky, like with bringing a life into the world, I would say don't give up unless it's causing an extremely traumatic experience, or unless it's like to the point where it's defeating you. Then, you know, there are other options out there, of course. But for new moms, it's like every time somebody asks me, like, how's motherhood going, you know, and I'm like, it's an adjustment. That's like the first thing I say, because my life has had to be adjusted so much, or I've had to make so many adjustments, because I went almost 18 years of adulthood without having a kid or having somebody relying on me. It's just been me. I've been able to pick up, get up and go out of town, go travel, start a new venture. I've been able to do all of those things, like, whenever I wanted to. And it's just, it slows you down. It puts things into perspective. It prioritizes, like, it just changes your priorities. So overall, like, you just, if you really want to be a parent, just know that your life will change drastically. Now, I'm not saying that in a negative way, but it will drastically change. Absolutely. And there's no reversing it. Like, you know, of course, people put their kids up for adoption and stuff, but if you truly love your kid, want to be a parent, like, there's no reversing. And then you're just so, I feel like at this age, me having a baby, I'm so much more intentional than I think that I probably would have been when I was young. So there's a lot more put into parenthood as an older parent, because you're conscious of everything. Like, you want to make sure that you're doing everything right, and that you're not the one causing all the trauma. So it's like, I just say, make sure you're sure about it if you're gonna do it, because it can be a struggle. It can be a struggle.
The struggle is real.
But like I said, I love her. Like, it's really like cliche for people to say this, but it's rewarding. But it's also the hardest thing you probably ever do.
It is the hardest job. Yeah. It is definitely, and my job is hard sometimes, but it is definitely the most challenging job, because everything that you think about initially, everything, from your birth plan to what schools and what, it could totally.
Go right out the window.
You gotta. It's always like shifting. You always have to shift. And I literally live my life now after this past year, just one day at a time.
Yeah.
One day at a time,
You
1
have
week at a
to.
time, 1 month at a time.
You have to, or you will be completely overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's rewarding, but I don't think I've ever had this much anxiety in all my life.
And what I will say is, because I've been a stay-at-home mom for most of my parenthood, people be sleeping on stay-at-home moms. Like, they always like, oh, working moms are this and that, and I don't feel like there should be a comparison.
No.
But
because that's work too.
Yeah, being a stay-at-home mom is way more challenging than a job, I feel like. And that's no slight to working moms.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, like, I got to the point where I'm like, I'd rather work. I'd rather go to work, because being with your kid 24/7, you literally don't get a break. You hope they take a nap, and that may be a break. But if they don't take a nap, then you just going from sun up to sundown. Put them in the bed, wake up and do the same thing all over again, and they don't turn off.
Nope.
So
no batteries.
You're literally having to devote the entire 24 hours almost, if they don't sleep the whole time, like, to raising this child and like making sure that you're teaching them and you're feeding them and you're, so don't sleep on no stay-at-home moms, because, baby, I'd rather go to work, because you can turn your brain off when you get to work and you don't have to worry. I mean, of course, you have a different type of work to do.
Right.
So you have to use a different part of your brain. Right. But, like, you don't have to be concerned about your child, because they're in good hands wherever they are, like whatever your childcare situation is. And you're able to, like I said, turn it off for a second. And then you go home, or go get your kid, go home. And then you're a parent for that time, get them ready for bed, and then you do that all over again too. But just around the clock, it ain't for the weak, baby.
It can be tough, yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. So we're gonna get out of here, have another toast. What are we toasting to end the conversation? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Being open and honest.
Anytime.
And sharing with the nice people.
How about you come up with something to toast to now?
Let's toast to your transition back into working, and we're gonna pray that goes well.
Yeah.
And you're able to navigate that, because that's a whole new thing too.
I feel good about it. I really do. Like, my creative juices are flowing again.
Good.
I just have a lot of plans, and I'm just ready to get going again, crank it all back up.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I love you.
All right, y'all. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you.